At what age should you stop making zines? Because I can't. I think you should stop making zines when it's not your choice. So basically when you die. Hello all my zine machines, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bree and I love zines. Nice. If you don't know what a zine is, it's basically just like a homemade magazine. This video is not necessarily about zines. It's a Q&A video because I asked my Patreon members and my Instagram followers to ask me anything they want, and they did because y'all are nosy. I love you too! I have a few errands to run, so I thought that I could just take you guys with me and answer some of your questions. I put them down on little note cards. My Patreon members get priority because they support my monthly zines. So if you're not familiar with my zine club over on Patreon, membership is free, where you get updates about what I'm doing and stuff like that. But if you would like to join any of the payment tiers, you get different perks, like you get early access to videos like this. Depending on which tier, you get access to a monthly zine that I make. I make a brand new zine every single month, specifically for my zine club. Anyway, they get priorities, so I'm gonna read their cards first, and then I'll move on to the Instagram questions and stuff, so stick around. Okay guys, now this is Carberry. I'll answer some of these Patreon questions now. The first one is from Andrea G. Andrea asks, sometimes my zines end up a wobbly mess. What advice would you give to a person who tends to overthink the process and get a bit disappointed when the zine does not end up how it was imagined initially? That's a very good question. Oh my gosh, my glasses, the glasses! Andrea, to answer your question, I feel like the best way to get over overthinking your zine and the process is just to radically accept whatever's gonna happen. I know that sounds like such a hippie mom answer, right? But I have a video on this. It's called Your Zine Sucks and That's Okay. And I basically talk about that fear of perfectionism and trying to get it right. And what if it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to? What if it turns out ugly and you hate it? Then it turns out ugly and you hate it. Gee, thanks. You learn from those experiences though. Instead of overthinking it, just get your hands moving, just get started, whether you're making a zine digitally or by hand, you know, you're collaging and everything, just get started and be okay with whatever the outcome is. If it sounds like I'm driving like an airplane, it's because I drive a manual car. I drive stick, so it's really loud. Excuse me. I'm at the gas station, so I'll be right back. Okay. Why did this car park like this? They park so fucking dumb. Okay, next question is from Andy Crone. What draws you? I should not read and drive. Oh my gosh, there's a Krispy Kreme right here.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
But I'm not gonna get a donut because I already just ate a huge breakfast and I don't need a donut. And you guys don't need to listen to me eat a donut. Okay, the next question is from Andy Crone, and they ask, what draws you to a zine you pick up? Usually I'll pick up a zine if there's a pop of color. Most zines that I like are black and white on the inside. Those are my favorite kind of zines. I love the way that it looks on the inside, but if they use a colored cardstock for the cover, or there's just like a little bit of a pop of color to the title or something like that, that usually draws me to pick up a zine. Sleepy Samsara asks, what inspires your aesthetic in zines, art, creative writing, and fashion? Ooh. The older I get, the more I realize I revert back to my younger self. When I was 15, 16, 17, I was so rebellious, I guess you could say. But over time, as people start telling you, hey, you need to grow up, you need to do this, you need to do that, when you're younger, and you're like that, you're very, I guess unsure is the wrong word, because I was very sure of myself. I really liked who I was, and it's like I always knew I was a little bit odd, you know? And I feel as you get older, people around you are like, you gotta get serious, kid. You gotta get a job. You gotta go to college. And that sort of suppressed my personality. And as I get older, now that I'm 30, I realize that, oh, I was right all along. Like, I revert back to being how I was when I was younger. I hope that makes sense, but the things I liked and the things that inspired me and inspired like my aesthetic and the way that I wrote and the way that I dressed, those things were very, I think, foundational to my personality. They were forming who I was going to be for the rest of my life, but I didn't even know it. And then when people were telling me like, hey, no kid, you're wrong, you should actually be like this, I started listening to that, changing who I am. And now that I'm older, I am more inspired by who I was when I was younger. I find myself now that I'm 30 listening to a lot of the same old music that I used to listen to when I was a teenager. I find myself watching some of the same shows, but having a new appreciation for them, having a better understanding of them. Even old books. Like, I'll read some old books and I was like, wow, I remember hating this book as a teenager. Read it as an adult thinking, oh, maybe I'll resonate with it differently now that I understand things. And I'm like, no, this book sucks. Next errand I have is to drop off some mail. I have some zine trades in my bag. I have all of these zine trades going to all sorts of places. Let's see. I have one going to Anaheim, California, to Iron Ridge, Wisconsin, Canada, España, Bishop, California, and this last one is going to St. Paul, Minnesota. So I have to go to the post office. There is a drive-through post office. I'm gonna go do that. That is our next errand. The next question is from Charlie R, and they say, "Hi Bree, I'm thinking of hosting a zine making party soon. Any advice or suggestions? So far, I'm just planning on asking people to contribute supplies." Asking people to bring their own supplies is great for zine parties. I always ask people to bring what is gonna make them excited to create. So great start. Also, I suggest if you're having a party to provide some snacks and also maybe some paper. So if they're bringing their own supplies, like their own stickers and magazines and whatever inspires them to create, providing lots of paper will be very helpful, because if you're making zines, you're gonna need something blank to start with, right?
Correct!
Ooh. Accomplished that. Okay, so the next one is from Alicia Rivera, and they ask, do you pre-write a draft for your zines or do you write them directly on one go? I usually almost always draft my zines, and I have an example of that in one of my latest videos, and I show you how I blueprint my zine before I make the final draft.
May I help you?
Could I just do a large Baja Blast soda? Now it's Baja Blast time, and for those that don't know, because last time I drank a Baja Blast on the channel, I have a viewer from from the UK that was like, I don't know what Baja Blast is. Baja Blast! The color definitely probably should not enter your body. You know, when I have these days where I run a lot of errands, I like to snack. Baja Blaster from Taco Bell. Oh, I know in 20 years this is gonna catch up to me. Maybe even sooner. I am 30. Okay, so the other errands I have to run, I can't take you with me for those. I am going on a few apartment tours, but I have a few more questions for my Patreon supporters that I'm going to answer now. Frenchie says, how can I stop putting pressure on myself to create incredible zines? And that's gonna kind of be similar to the answer I gave Andrea G when they asked how they can overcome overthinking and perfectionism in their zines. My answer is always gonna be radical acceptance. I know it's such a easier said than done kind of answer, but I've just learned from experience of making zines for over 7 years now, is that you just have to create the thing, and whether you like the result or not is going to teach you how to get better at making zines. Also, Frenchie, if I'm not mistaken, I think I made a video for you a year ago. I remember you asked a very similar question, not calling you out. This is from love, okay? And I would really highly suggest you going back and watching that video I made for you. It's called Your Zine Sucks and That's Okay. And I basically talk about how I approach perfectionism, how I go about radical acceptance, and I also list a few books that I think are really great for creatives, not just zine makers, that will really help you overcome the fear of creating art. Okay, the next question is from Emma Rylan, and they ask, when did you start getting into zines? What made you interested? And I've talked about this in previous videos. I think I have another Q&A video where I talk about this more in depth, but I started making zines back in 2016 when I was in college for English studies. I majored in English creative writing, and a big part of that major is getting published. It wasn't a requirement, but it was very highly encouraged that you submit your writing to literary magazines and stuff like that, and my work was just getting rejected. So I turned to zines to be able to publish myself, and I've been making them ever since. And here is the last question. It is from my little brother. Yes, my little brother is in my zine club, and he asked, hey there, 2 questions. Who is your favorite sibling and why is it me?
Really, nigga?
Also, I have seen you work 16-hour days, lock yourself in your office, and sacrifice social experiences to create art or content. Are you ever afraid you'll completely burn yourself out or that you'll lose the love you have for art? Ugh. You know what? I've changed a lot. I think those times where you saw me working 16-hour days, I think that was a few years ago, because I definitely don't overwork as much as I used to. Sacrificing social experiences and able to create art or content, it's not really a sacrifice to me because I love what I do and I get energized from doing things like this. I have a really big passion for my zines. I've always wanted the freedom to be an artist. I've always wanted the freedom to be able to communicate this to the world, to be able to connect with other people through my art. So I don't really think of it as a sacrifice because I know that over time this will grow and really help people. When I help other people, I'm kind of helping myself too. So I don't look at it as sacrifice. I just look at it as like, I'd rather be doing this. Like, I do love socializing. I hang out with my friends a lot more often than I used to. I definitely found a balance between work and play. today. Are you afraid you'll completely burn yourself out or that you'll lose the love you have for art? I have burnt myself out before, and that's what taught me that lesson of finding a balance. And I talk about this in a recent video. If I were to start making zines in 2024, this is what I would do. And I talked about being burnt out. I got burnt out, I think, a little bit after the pandemic. It did make me lose my love for art a little bit. It made me really disinterested in zines for a time. It really taught me to take more time and be more intentional with the stuff that I share. I'm not afraid of burning out anymore because I feel like I know how to navigate it. So when I feel those symptoms coming on, I know to take a step back from whatever I'm doing and reflect. I don't think I'll ever lose the love I have for art. Even if I stop making art, I think I could always appreciate it as a former artist. If there ever comes a day where I lose this passion I have for art, like in creating art, I can always admire artists that already exist that are paving the way for future artists. Okay, so those are all the Patreon questions. Now I'm gonna move on to the Instagram questions. First one is from Rosie Zines. Where do you get your swag, or is it natural? It's all natural, baby. Baja break. The code is Veronica asks, Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise? Neither. Barrick Unlimited asks, how many countries have you been to? I've only ever been outside of the United States once, and that was to visit Jamaica. I went in 2012 after I graduated from high school, and my parents were like, hey, we want to take you on a trip. We want you to see the world. Where do you want to go? And I didn't decide, and they were like, how about Jamaica? Because I think low-key they wanted to go to Jamaica. So I was like, okay, sure. So we went to Jamaica. Alicia XOXO, they asked me if I use a microphone to record or if I film everything and then do a voiceover afterwards. And I do a mix of both. As you can see, I have this lavalier mic that I bought from Best Buy. And then when I'm doing voiceover, I use the same microphone and just make a voice note in my phone. And then I line it up in editing to make the voiceover. This mic is pretty good quality, I think. Let's see if I could do a little bit of ASMR. ASMR driving. Sorry if you can hear my car. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I drive a stick shift. So my car is very manual and it's shaky, just like me. I actually kind of liked whispering like that. Maybe I'll make an ASMR channel. Kayla Angela asks if I have any tips for making the most out of college as a creative person. And yes, as a former college person, I would suggest making genuine, authentic connections with people that have like-minded mindset as you and similar values. Because like I said, I went to college for creative writing. And so in the creative writing courses, we had to do a lot of workshops. So we would have to read our stories out loud and we would have to get feedback from our peers. And through that experience, I was able to meet a lot of people that not only are similar to me in terms of like they want to be writers and artists and stuff, but people that are willing to grow and improve. That doing that process of having to read your stuff out loud, it's very revealing. And so people that stick around after that and want to get to know you deeper and want to be able to continue to workshop with you and do stuff that helps you grow as a creative, as a person, that really helps you grow as a person as well. So I would say focus on building genuine connections because you never know. And this is not in an opportunist kind of way, but when you make connections with people that are in similar fields of you as you and want similar jobs as you when you end up leaving college, they could have connections to something that could help you in your career. That's happened to me a lot of times where I've had these genuine friends that I made in college. They go off and they work for some broadcasting thing and they're like, hey, we need a copywriter for this gig. Are you interested? And I had a gig with Mac DeMarco once. I was making a zine for his fan club and I remembered someone that I knew from my past that was an illustrator. I liked her way of drawing things and I was like, okay, I need an illustration for this Mac DeMarco project. And then I was able to hook her up with something. And it's not just hooking up people. You already know these people very well. You trust them. You trust their judgment. You know their work ethic. And it's like you have these built-in colleagues with these friendships. Apartment tours done. So Maya Matt asks, are you Polynesian/Pacific Islander? I saw before that you mentioned a Samoan song. Yes, I am half Polynesian, half black. My dad is black and my mom is Hawaiian and Samoan. Recent show you've binged, Bridgerton. I was so late on the Bridgerton train. I skipped season 1 because everybody was like, season 1 is not good. You could just go to season 2 and oh my gosh! What's your favorite art supply? The dollar store. I love going to the Dollar Tree. I love going to Daiso. I love going to Five Below. What is your favorite way to pimp your zines? I love to add mini zines to bigger zines because I think it's such a nice surprise. Here's a zine I've made called You Kinda Suck issue 2, and then when you flip through there is bonus zines. There's an end of the zine. Ugu Bella. They ask, you mentioned before journaling helps with developing zine ideas. Do you have any examples of how to start? Yes, I think by having some prompts to get you started will really help you explore deeper parts of yourself and see what you want to make a zine out of. So for example, I'll write stuff that I'm grateful for, or I'll start journaling about stuff that annoys me throughout my day. And usually when I do that, I find something that fires me up enough where I feel like I can make a whole zine out of it. Best place online to find zines to buy or read. I'm always going to suggest the online archives that are free. There's so many of them, but I'll list my favorite one down in the description. When you first started making zines, did you have any favorite zine makers? If so, do they still make? When I first started back in 2016, I really loved the zine by Spew by Avery and Karina, and I'll link their Instagram down below. They still make zines. Next question is from JunoCat1890. How do you perfectly fold a mini zine? You need one of these. You need a bone folder. I'll make a separate video about this, but I'll show you really quickly why this helps you fold your mini zine perfectly. When you use a bone folder, you get the creases really flat, and that helps with your folds because otherwise you might come across something like this. So let me show you an example of when I see people make mistakes when folding their zines. So they'll fold it
kind of haphazardly, but you see how that crease is not that flat. They fold it up. I'm sorry, I'm gonna explain it, but I'm just showing you what I see a lot of people do when they don't get their folds perfectly. And they cut it, and then you see how the end result is not as crisp and as nice. I definitely went too fast on the cut there and I made that mistake. This is fine. This is still a very valid, absolutely perfectly usable zine.
But if you want really crisp folds, you want a perfectly crisp folded zine with all the edges lined up, bone folder. I'll show you why. So you take your sheet of paper. Be careful on how you line it up too. You really want to make sure that you get really nice folds. Don't do it so quickly. If you need to go slower and take your time, just do that. So you see how I'm folding it with my fingers? That's fine. But if I go in with my nails, you'll get an even flatter crease. Or if you use the bone folder, you get a really flat crease. And this is going to help with the overall folding to make sure that you get a really nice fold. So then you make sure you line it up again. I just want to show you how amazing this little tool is in getting you the perfect zine. See how nothing creases over? It's like perfectly lined up. That is how I get a perfect fold in my mini zines. Okay, next question is from On the Bleachers. How do you get the front and back of zines to line up when printed like the cowboy boot? Oh, so if you are familiar with my work, you've probably seen the cowboy zine boot that I made last year. The way that I get that is by drawing the shape. So I drew the boot, then I flipped it, lined it up with each other, and then printed it out and then cut it out manually. I know that sounds confusing. It was confusing to me too, because like I always tell you guys, I'm no expert at this stuff. I just kind of like fuck around and find out. I did do it on Procreate, but you can even draw manually by hand. You can do this. All right, next question is from TJ Wrights, and they ask top 3 favorite zines this week. One was from Spain from Alicia Rivera. This is what they made me. That's my PO box. Don't worry, I don't live there, but they sent me this from Spain, and it came with really cool zines inside. But I really liked how they put the special touches on the envelope for me. I thought that was really cool. Another zine that I got this week is called Ace in the Hole by Suji Lee. Fix a flat with Aisha McGowan, and basically it has instructions on how to fix a flat tire. Next question. Han the Divine asks, best way to distribute your zines starting out. Okay, well, welcome to the zine community. That's so cool that you're starting to distribute your zines. I always suggest, with the times that we are living in now, you should definitely post them on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever. That's a great way to connect with other zine makers. That's what I've done the past few years. Another way that I like to do, if you're trying to sell your zine, I would suggest reaching out to your local bookstores or any small shops that sell trinkets and vintage stuff. They might carry your zines. You just have to speak to them about it. You can use websites like Faire. I do have a whole video on how I make money from my zines using wholesale sites like Faire. But if you don't care about making money and you're just trying to distribute your zines to get people to read them, I really like sneaking them in between books. That's like my favorite thing to do. I go to Barnes & Noble, or I'll go to the library, and say I have a mini zine like this one, like the Fix a Flat. I'll go into different books that are about bikes and slip this in between, you know, as an example. Usually if someone is looking for literature about a specific thing and I have a zine that resonates with that specific topic, I'll slip in a mini zine or a zine into that book because maybe they'll like reading it. Zine Queen 2024, love that username, that's really cute. Asks, all-time favorite style, size of zine. I love the mini zine. That's my favorite because I love how you're able to take a small amount of space and get creative with how you're going to utilize all the pages. Like for example, this is one of my favorite zines this week. This is Ace in the Hole by Suji Lee that I showed you earlier. What they did to utilize all the space, which is one of my favorite ways to utilize space as well. I love making secret posters when you unfold the entire thing. So this is their zine, but when you unfold the entire thing, there is a poster on the back. So they use all of this to make their zine. Then they utilize the back for a poster to send even more messages and to get their expression across, to self-express or to showcase their art. I love the mini zine. I love minis. This question is from Blanquis the Creative. How do you decide when to retire a zine from distribution? That's usually not very easy for me to do. The last time that I retired a zine was because I felt like it didn't accurately represent who I am anymore, which is such a broad thing to say because who you are changes day by day, minute by minute. But I did have the zine, I think I showed it earlier, the zine series You Kinda Suck. I made them when I was coming from a very defensive, hurt place, and I was pretty much talking shit on people for hurting me. But then last year I realized like, oh, I don't need to be a victim to my circumstances. Of course, when people hurt you, they should be held accountable and all that, but I've also just learned to let a lot of things go because no matter what people do to me or say to me or think about me, it doesn't change who I myself feel myself to be. It's not letting people get away with things, it's just, this is gonna sound so corny, but just being the bigger person, I guess, I don't know. And I felt like I didn't want to use those zines to retell a story that was just gonna re-victimize myself. That was gonna make me feel bad just by bringing it up over and over. I feel like that keeps you in a perpetual state of victimhood. I don't want to be sad anymore, and I felt like those zines were really sad, so I decided to retire it because I'm like, hey, this zine doesn't accurately represent who I am as of today. I think that's honestly the only zine I've retired. They're still in circulation, they're still in print, I still will sell them, but I don't continue making more series. Like there will never be a You Kinda Suck issue 5. Like that, it's over. There's issues 1 through 4, and that's it. That doesn't mean that I'm never gonna complain again or talk shit again. I will, but it's not going to be coming from this place of like, I can't move on unless these people realize what they did and I get my revenge. No, I can move on. I can be happy. Next question is from Joan Greaves. What is the most ambitious zine you've completed? Well, I could think of 2 zines and they're both based on the same movie. They're 2 fan zines on the movie Vampire's Kiss starring Nicolas Cage. This kind of goes into another question I had about how to make zines that are shaped like something. This zine I made on Vampire's Kiss was shaped like a bat, and that was very hard to do because I'm like, how am I going to make this shape like a bat? I don't even think I could draw a bat from memory if I wanted to. So I had to figure out how I was going to make this fold and line up to look like a bat. That was pretty ambitious. It took me a few weeks to do that one. And the other Vampire's Kiss fanzine that I made is actually a flexagon, so it's a different type of fold, but I call them flexazines just because I'm so obsessed with zines. I was like, I have to make this related to zines somehow, but honestly, it's just another type of paper craft. I made it very interactive to a scene that is from the movie Vampire's Kiss.
Just put it in the right file according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do!
Next question is from TJ Wrights. Another one by TJ Wrights. What's one zine that you're afraid to make but it nags you every day? I'm not afraid to make any zines. It's not fear per se, it's just laziness. What zine that you've made is your current favorite one? My current favorite zine that I've ever made is called the ABC of Zines. I have another question from Kayla Angela, and they ask, do you ever get burned out from making zines? Short answer, yes. Another one by TJ Wrights, and they ask, at what age did you stop making zines? Because I can't. I think you should stop making zines when it's not your choice. So basically when you die. What do you like to do when you're not making zines? I like to read. Here's a book that I'm reading right now called Babel. How do you decide when a project is finished and ready to be shared with the world? I hear a voice in my head that says it's time. If I hear myself say, just fucking share it. Just do it. I just do it. So what hobbies did you have before you discovered zine making? A lot of the hobbies that I still participate in, I participated in before I found zines. So I still really love to roller skate. I really enjoy reading. But one thing that I did before zine making that I no longer do is I used to do stand-up comedy. I used to be a comic for 4 years. Ever since I started doing being a content creator, I kind of gave that up. That's it. Those are all the questions, guys. I answered them all. Those are all the questions that you guys asked. I really hope that you like this Q&A. I hope it's helpful in some ways. Back to the ASMR break. If you liked this video, please leave a comment. Let me know if you have any more questions for me. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.